Welcome to our new viewers, and welcome back to our returning viewers. Now, as you know, we took a hiatus from the episode commentaries for a few weeks, and boy, did you guys notice. Well, we're back today with our next episode commentary, Ring of Fire. Summer is a busy time here at Knight Rider Historians headquarters, but we'll try to give you your fix of commentaries as often as we can. Now, to celebrate the return of the episode commentaries, I have personally written a poem about this episode. I hope you enjoy it. All right, here it goes. Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire. Not bad, huh? I bet it would make a good song.
Sunday, will it be Southern Fried Kit when Michael tries to save a Cajun cutie from her jealous husband? It's a hot Knight Rider Sunday.
Production 57810, Ring of Fire. This episode was written by Janice Hendler and directed by Winrick Colby. This episode originally aired on NBC Sunday night, December 4th, 1983 at 8 p.m. It was filmed from May 20th through the 31st of 1983. This was the 30th episode to air, but the 23rd episode to be produced. This was actually the second episode filmed for Season 2 right after Return to Cadiz. The synopsis reads as follows. Michael and Kit are stranded in the Louisiana bayou after a chase involving an escaped murderer lands them in a swamp. So with that, let's dig into this episode. We open at the chain gang, and this is where Chris Callan has a little help from this guard here to escape. This man is Dick Durock, and he appeared a couple times throughout the series, most notably in the final episode of Knight Rider, Voodoo Night. He was one of the two guys that was under Harana's spell with the magical earring. And but this is his, I believe, his first appearance in the series here as Brown. His name was just Brown, the guard. We then transition to the Foundation, and for some reason, the Foundation has this heat room, which I guess they probably would have used for testing with Kit when he was being built, right? I don't know. But we can see here, this is probably on one of the stages at Universal, but this is the hero car, and it's kind of hard to see here, but if you recall back in our commentary for Merchants of Death, we talked about how for a brief time the headliner of the hero car right here was covered in black gaffer's tape. And you can see here it's back again, because remember, we have reverted back to the second episode filmed for Season 2. So this would only last, we see it in Merchants of Death, we see it here, I'm not sure, I think that might be about all we see this black tape in, and then they redo it back to the proper tan cloth. And we move ahead here, you kind of get a little bit better of a look, not the greatest. I think we have a better picture later in this episode to show you, but Michael decides he doesn't want to be pushed past his boiling point and decides to book it out of there. This is the episode where April installs the pyroclastic lamination to protect Kit and his occupants up to temperatures of 600 degrees. We see the pyroclastic lamination in effect in the fourth season in Night Flight to Freedom. However, I believe in that episode it's only called he only references the molecular bonded shell. So I don't think pyroclastic lamination is mentioned again in the series, but I could be wrong. Note we've got Michael's leather jacket hanging on the coat hook in the back seat. And when Michael leaves, he doesn't close the door completely. It just is flopping open, so you'll see that when he drives out. And we move to stock footage. This is something we hadn't seen in a while. If you remember, back when we first started these episode commentaries, we had kind of a running joke about all the stock footage that they would use and how you would see this John Ward style front nose of Kit, which was only filmed for the 20-minute pilot presentation to sell the series to NBC. However, this stock footage that they filmed would be reused throughout the entire series. And here we are in season 2, seeing the original John Ward style front nose on Kit. The one that's more stock looking with the elongated hood, thinner scanner, turn signals. There you go. And we get a look here at Kit's cassette player. This is kind of a basic version of what would become the cassette player. So we, throughout season 2, we see the cassette player a number of times, but in these early produced season 2 episodes, this is the cassette player that they had, which was, I think, a realistic brand cassette player, and they masked off some stuff, changed some things, but they would change this for Goliath in just a few episodes, and they put a yellow block here that said tape and accented a little bit more. But this was the early version of the cassette player. This obviously was not in Kit. This was mounted on probably a Masonite board and on a sound stage. So this was never actually in Kit. Yeah, here's a better look of the inside of the hero car, and you can see all the gaffer's tape right there, just covering things up. It's kind of a mess. Michael now enters the town of Fleur de Lac, Louisiana, trying to search for Christopher Callan, and this is the part where he says, how many Callans could there be? And every single business along this street has the name Callan. So in reality, this is actually Kenneth Road in Glendale, California. So this screenshot we see right here, which is Callan's Realty. So if we look at this today, you can see the unique pattern up here, the brick, the accents around the windows. So if we were to look at this today, here it is. So we're looking at the corner of Kenneth Road and Grandview Road in Glendale, and you can see that building is still there exactly the same. And I believe this is the same building we see at the end of the episode where Layla and Michael, they come out of this door, and the priest is walking along this area. So that the whole town is actually Glendale, California right here. And then we see here Callan's Stationery is also, here it is today. There it is today. Building's still there. There was no building here in 1983 when they filmed, so this was a more recent addition, but that building is still there today. This is 1417 West Kenneth Road, so all along this same area. And then Michael and Kit pull over into this parking spot here to start getting out and searching for Christopher Callan on foot. And we can see here we've got this red brick building, we've got this unique awning here. We go to today, all pretty much still the same. There's that brick building, there's the corner with the awning. So this is 1415 Kenneth Road, literally right across the street from this building we just saw, the Callan Stationery, right there. And hopefully you guys aren't sick of filming locations then and now, but this is the point where Michael is picked up by the police officer. We can see this bakery in the background, the Callan's groceries right there, and a Gap. So this is all still there today. This is the bakery right here. And obviously the giant bakery sign is gone, but the brick is still the same. And then if you look, this is that Callan's grocery, which actually is a market and deli. But if you look at the unique step-down pattern on the roof there and compare it over here, we've got the same. And you can see this square tiles up here, if you look real close. And we go back to here, and you can see the square tiles. Now you see here, there's no building right here. This is all just grass. and over here is this building. Well, if we turn this way, once again, this is the same place as that Callan stationary. So they literally filmed all of Fleur de Lac in like 2 square blocks of this town, which is kind of neat. See, and then we see this point of view shot of Michael and Kit, or I'm sorry, Michael and the police officer driving away with Kit saying so much for Southern hospitality. So if we were to go back to here, and Kit's parked right about where this Volkswagen is, I think. We turn this way, and then that's what he's looking at. He's looking at down that road. But anyways, all right, so that's enough of that for this moment. But one other thing to point out, we obviously notice you get a great close-up shot of the voice box in the hero car, and we can see it's still the Michael Chaffee style. That's because, remember, we're only 2 episodes into the filming of season 2. So at this point in the series, the hero car still had its season 1 dash-on-dash fiberglass dashboard and the season 1 voice box. It wouldn't be until the hiatus before they filmed Goliath. Remember, they took a 5.5-week break. They filmed a number of season 2 episodes, and they took a break, then they came back. During that 5.5-week hiatus, they ripped this dashboard out. They put a new dash in. I'm pretty sure they reused all these electronics into the new dash. But when they switched the dash out, they gave Kit his proper equalizer voice box. So this is very short-lived in the series. Only a couple more episodes that we'll see the original Chaffee-style voice box. And then, unfortunately, it goes away. Michael arrives at Judge Callan's house. And once again, they're filming in Glendale, California, on Kenneth Road. This is 752 West Kenneth Road. And if we look at it today, you can see it's behind some massive gates, but there's the property still looking about the same. You got this hanging chandelier. We've got this round window at the top. All that's the balcony. So it's a dead match. Looks like it's exactly the same as it was back in 1983, which is kind of neat. And here we have George Murdoch. So George is a Knight Rider. Well, at this point, he's not a Knight Rider veteran, but this is his first appearance in the series. He returns again in Mouth of the Snake as a good guy. And then he's also in Team Knight Rider, an episode called The A-List. So he's one of the few Knight Rider actors that crossed over into one of the spin-off series. Michael's hiding behind this little half wall here as Craig is shooting at him. So we can tell by these buildings, this is Kenneth Road up here. So this is just right behind Kenneth Road. Looks to be this area right here. So if we look here, here's that building we saw at the very beginning when Michael was entering to town. So they literally just came around the corner. And if we look over here, this Fleur de Lac Sheriff Station. And by the way, I always thought this scene was interesting because here, Craig's running over, stealing a police car, and this policeman, he looks out at the window at him and then just turns around and casually walks back in. Kind of makes you wonder if he was like in on it, right? Like the guard was at the beginning that gave Craig the key. Anyways, so then Kit comes flying around the corner and taking off. So again, all this takes place right here in Glendale. So they got a big bang for their buck. And by the way, in Google, this police station is all blurred out. So I don't know what's there. It might actually be a police station. I have no idea. Here we have Michael chasing Craig. And this is one of the last roads he's on before it turns to swampland. This is one of the train wreck cars. It's a hardtop car. So Ring of Fire is very interesting because there's kind of a lot of unknowns really in terms of the cars. So besides, obviously they use the hero car, they use the backup to the hero car, which in season 2 was for insert shots, and they use the left-hand blind drive car. But they also have 4 other cars that they use. One of them is the hardtop stunt car, which I believe is actually this one. This is the one that was introduced late in season 1. I think in Chariot of Gold, if I remember correctly. This is that dedicated hardtop stunt car. But there's 3 other cars that are from the train derailment in 1982 that are used in this episode that we only see for a few episodes and then they kind of disappear, which makes me think that they were kind of given a hard life and destroyed fairly early at the start of their use. Most of the swamp scenes here are miniature work by Sessoms and Slagle. So this is a really great shot, a full body shot of the miniature kit that they had. I mentioned this before, but when they started doing these miniatures, they had a different body shell, and they would update it to look more like a Trans Am later in the series. So this is the early style. It's hard to see from this angle. We do have a scanner, but it's kind of too rounded in the front and whatnot. But for 1983, this was pretty good. So Michael is stuck in the swamp. He's getting out the roof, and then he's going to get attacked by dogs. One interesting thing to note is the windows on this car. So the windows are going down automatically without anyone pressing the button, which makes me think that they rewired some of the Trans Ams to have auto windows, like real auto windows where you press the button and they go down. Now, we kind of take that for granted in today's cars, because most fairly new cars in the last, 10 or 15 years have auto windows, right? You press the button and they go all the way down. You don't have to hold the button down. But 82 all the Trans Ams, you had to hold the button down for the windows to go down, and you couldn't let go of it. But I think they were rewired for this car so they would go down. So in a way, Kit once again predicting the future. Here's Leslie Wing making her one and only appearance in the series as Leila Sharon Calon. And today she actually owns a coffee shop, the East Simpson Coffee Company in Lafayette, Colorado. She's owned it since 2014. So if you ever want to go see her, head over to Lafayette, Colorado, and buy a coffee from her. Maybe she'll talk about Knight Rider. I don't know. And once again, we have a cameo from Hal Frizzle, who we've pointed out many times in the past, and here he is again. This is a member of Knight Rider's stunt crew, and making an appearance here as a poacher, just an unnamed poacher. And here's a better look at Hasselhoff in the hero car and the gaff tape job that they did here. And not to be outdone, here's a cameo by Jack Gill, and in this episode, he plays a character named Paul Lacroix, but he doesn't have any speaking parts in this episode, but there he is. And here's one of the other train wreck cars. We can see the 1983 style squared off seats as opposed to the PMD 82 seats. We see a seat belt there. And this is the hero car, but the reason I point this out is it's kind of rare to see the hero car from the passenger side like this with the door open. So you see, there's some interesting things to point out. Mainly is all this wiring, right? So this is the wiring to power the dash, because this was the only car that had a dash that really had any power going to it. Everything else was stickers or just blank plates, but this one actually had lights that worked. And this is the bundle of cables that powered it. So we look here, and it runs down the passenger side, probably under here, and to the back of the trunk. And here's yet another train wreck car that we don't see too much of. We do see this in Return to Cadiz. If you remember in that episode, I pointed out the scene where you see the interiors while Michael is supposedly driving Kit on the water. That's the same car as this one. No overhead console. If Layla's head wasn't in the way, you'd see there's the opening where the dome light is. The dome light housing is gone. But we can see here it's a stock Trans Am with just the Knight Rider steering wheel. And here, this little festival that's going on is in reality just the Universal Studios back lot in their western town. That's what all this is back here. And Michael stops to fix a problem with Kit's engine. And what's neat about this is one of the extremely rare times in the entire series that we even get a glimpse under Kit's hood. And this is probably the best glimpse we get in the entire series. So there's not really a ton to point out here that's not, at least from this angle, that's not a stock Trans Am, but we do see the air cleaner. So these air cleaners were an aftermarket unit that were added to all the cars just because the factory Trans Am air cleaners were bulkier and heavier, and they had a vacuum line to connect it, and they needed a way to be able to get to the carburetor to address any issues, to tune it very easily. So they got rid of all of the stock air cleaners and replaced them with these aftermarket ones. And then we zoom in on, we're supposed to be watching Layla, but of course we look at the hood here, and you can see the red spring right here, which tells us most likely this was a red hood from one of the train wreck cars. Either that or it's a black hood and they put a red spring on, but chances are this was actually a red hood that they spray bombed black. And we have fake Michael here, getting ready to get in a knife fight. So Layla's, we jump all the way. There's not much really to report until we get to this point where Michael's back in kit with Layla and they try and figure out how to jump over the fire. And just a minor thing to look at, but this headrest blackout. So they put these in for the blind drivers, right? So you wouldn't see their eyes coming through. And they did this just with all the seats, the blind drive seat and the regular seat. But this one looks like a piece of like masonite or cardboard with tape over it. You can see the wrinkle in it. Usually, in the first season they were made of a tinted acrylic, but and later on they were made of cloth that were sewn in. We actually have an original seat with the original blackout in it, which at some point we'll do a little segment on. But in this case, it looks like a piece of masonite with tape on it. And a manual override is complete. Kit then turbo boosts over the fire. I always like this scene because what they did is they took fire and then they took the footage filmed way back for Inside Out, the second episode of the entire series ever to be filmed. The scene where Kit is driving up into the semi, the white trailered semi, and they put the camera in between the ramps and Kit drives up over the ramps. That's where this scene came from back here. You can even see it's still, the car was so early, it still had its rear view mirror, it still had sun visors, and all they did is they superimposed fire in front of it to make it appear that Kit was turbo boosting. And then we come to this scene. This is the left-hand blind drive car, and it's got the rubber shell on top of the car. And I point this out. We've pointed out the rubber shell before, but I pointed out here because Kit's dirty, so you can actually see it. It's more pronounced than if the car was all black. So you can see the Trans Am is intact underneath. They set this rubber shell on top. You see we got the cutout here for the headlight doors, and they didn't trim this cutout properly, right? So this should actually be cut all the way back to that body line, but they didn't do that. And then of course we got the windshield here, and you can see the indent right around here is where the windshield would go. So whenever they molded this, it almost looks like they molded it without a windshield in the car, right? And that's what that indent is. I don't know. And then the side mirrors are not, these are the actual Trans Am side mirrors. The rubber shell does not have a cover for the mirrors. And here we are. This is the hero car getting all dirtied up towards the end. They're back parked on Kenneth Road in Glendale. And this is what I was saying at the beginning. This is that same building we saw at the very, very beginning, the brick with the wood accents where the priest and Layla and Michael are coming out. 1403 West Kenneth Road. And then Michael gets out back into the semi. This is the backup to the hero car / insert car. And this is the car we own. And it's weird to see it all dirtied up because we would never let it get this dirty now. And then we kind of have April coming out of the back. And since this was the second episode filmed, if you remember in our Return to Cadiz commentary, we talked about how the interior of the semi wasn't finished. The back wall didn't have its faux wood paneling. And we can see that's still the case here. We still see the black finish from season 1, and they haven't put the surround on the boomerang units yet. So we're still they still haven't fully updated the semi as of the second episode produced for season 2. All right, and with that, we conclude our analysis of Ring of Fire. I hope you liked it. So next time, we're going to cover Nightmares, another fan favorite episode. As always, thanks guys for watching. We'll catch you next time.
And now, while we listen to Joe's selection of Knight Rider music that we received directly from Don Peake himself, we'd like to thank these Patreon supporters. Look at you guys scrolling up the screen to my right. Wait a minute, how can you tell which side is my right since you can't see me because I'm not on camera? Oh well, you know what I mean. We're featuring these fine supporters at our Knight Rider Prop Restorer level. Thank you very much for your support. And for those of you at the Knight Rider History Hunter level, we're recognizing you right now in the description. Now, if you enjoyed seeing this golden nugget of Knight Rider history being rescued from obscurity, then please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support would empower us to bring you even more of these historical nuggets. We are the Knight Rider Historians. Till next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.